What's up, everybody? It's your boy Sleep here, and I'm here with my friend Keith, the Grizzly Gable, and we're back with another episode of Thrash Talk. Keith, we've been off for a few weeks. I know I did some traveling. You've done some traveling. What's going on, man? How you been?
Yeah, man, I've been good. Great to be back. Super stoked to get ordinary with our extraordinary guest tonight.
Love it.
Yeah, I've been hunting. Snow's starting to fly up here in the mountains. It's been good. It's getting cold, so it's nice. We're
Keith,
stoked.
dude, snow starting to fly. I hear they're shutting schools down in Colorado. I didn't even know that was a thing. There's like feet and feet of snow in Colorado right now. Isn't that true?
Yeah, so I think that was east of I-25 or something like that. I mean, they're the flatlands. Even though that's mile high area, we're up so much higher in elevation. We're kind of always prepared for it. You got those city folk down there. They nothing against them, but I think it caught them by surprise. Yeah, I mean, in my front yard, I got 2 to 4 inches a couple different times, and it must have just fully released once it got through the mountains because they got hit hard. But schools were open here. Open for business normally, you know.
Love it. Love it. The Flatlanders getting the snow. You know, one thing that I learned recently about our guest today that I'm really excited to get into is that he built a pump track out of snow, obviously out of snow, right? He's a snowboarder.
Yeah.
He's going to build a pump track out of snow at his flatland house. Man, are they doing that in Denver or no?
I doubt it. I think they're just trying to not starve for 24 hours. I don't know. I'm talking smack. I'm sorry, Denver. I love you. Uh, but yeah, no. So yeah, let's get into it, right? Getting ordinary with our extraordinary guest today. This guy is an absolute legend. I'm super stoked to have him on. He's 100% just like one of the coolest guys that I know. Absolute, again, legend and just great personality. So up to the stage today, we've got 4-time Olympian, okay, 2-time X Games medalist. He won a gold in 2011, a silver in 2012, Beijing Olympic gold medalist, and the author of Gold from Iron. We've got our man Nick Baumgartner. What's up, brother? Welcome to the
What's up,
stage.
guys? Thank you guys for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for
And I
joining
know
us,
what you
bro.
guys are thinking. Killer mustache, and you're right. This is for the boys. Doing this for men's health. Every Movember, I get to rock my amazing mustache. Other than that, it stays away. My son hates it.
I
Oh,
feel like the way
no.
you grow hair, you just pretty much blew on your thumb and it just popped out. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
so Nick, I remember the first time we met, actually. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2012, I made my X Games debut and I won the gold, and you actually interviewed me. I don't know if you remember this, but I was blown away. I was like, holy shit, Nick Baumgartner is talking to me right now and he's got a microphone. What do I say? I was like Ricky Bobby. I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, cool, man. That's cool stuff. X Games, man, what a great event. We used to have so much fun there, and it's just a shame that they got rid of our event and we're not allowed to play anymore, because
Yeah.
that's a game changer for us. My whole journey started because of the X Games, because we didn't have the Olympics or the Paralympics back then for snowboarding. So that was it. That was the holy grail. That's what we were shooting for, and it made it a lot easier to make a living. People think we're professional snowboarders, we must make money. Well, that was the case when X Games was around because it was allowed to put us onto TV, but with the trademark and the conflict of interest with the TV stations, we don't get to be live in the US, which is a bummer.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's kind of similarly to you. Like growing up, I grew up watching the X Games. Obviously, I watched the Olympics and stuff, but I mean, X Games was like the coup de grace for extreme sports. If that's what you were into, that's what you were watching. Come, January, February. It was like as a kid, you ran around, remember, like pretending you were the X Games gold medalist of whatever you were into, whether it's biking, skateboarding, snowboarding, skiing, whatever the case may be. You were like, that's what I want to do. So I remember getting my invite and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like I looked at it, I started shaking. I almost started crying because I was like freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Keith, how
But
does
it's so
that
cool.
work, man? How does that work? How do you get an invite to the X Games? Do you have to apply? Is there so many events you have to participate in advance? How does that whole process work for y'all?
So for us, it was relatively slim pickings back then. It's all invite only, first of all. So they were picking essentially the top guys in the world to come out and do it. And for us, we were mixed category. So it wasn't just below the knee amputees against, that same category. It was like if you were an arm guy and you were a ripper and you could handle the jumps, you were in kind of deal. Now, well, the last time we competed, I think they took top 15 or 20 men out of all of it still combined.
Okay.
And I know Nick's field was quite a bit deeper. You guys, how many did you guys have, Nick?
Well, I don't know. We'd qualify 24. We didn't start with many more than that. But getting the invite, it just substantially got harder. When I got my invite in 2005, I had just started. I just started the journey a year prior, and I went to the USASA Nationals, and it was the final year that they allowed winning the open class an invite to the X Games. So here I am, 2005, showing up to the X Games with my mom, my dad, and my sister. No clue what's going on. We're from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We show up to the biggest snowboard event in the world, and here we are, no clue what's going on. And it was just amazing. And then from that moment on, it was like, make sure you make that qualifier so that you can come back next year and just keep trying to do better.
Yeah, and I think so for us, kind of similarly, I want to say maybe 15 or 20. Obviously, you got a time trial and they bracket out, but you always race 6 ahead, right? Side by
Yep.
side. Same with us, and that was the only time we ever rode 6 across was at X Games. And that's hairy. It's gnarly enough to say 4, but 6 is gnarly, right?
Oh, super gnarly. And then, yeah, they went to the Olympics 2 years that I was at were 6-man, and it became so much chaos. Yes, it was more exciting for the fans and it was great, but going from 32 to 48, you had some people that they wanted it and they were hungry, but they probably didn't have the skill to be there, so it could be dangerous. And that's what we found out. Like bad things could happen with a couple of those, not just hurting other people, but hurting themselves, and we didn't want that. So we had to bump it back down to 4, and I think it's where it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think 4 across, it's a good even number. There's enough chaos with 4 people. You don't need 2 more people on there getting ragdolled. So yeah, man, like, dude, you're an absolute legend. How old are you now? I'm gonna get into it. Yeah.
42 years old, baby. Almost 43. I'll be 43 in December.
And what's the youngest guy that's on your guys' team right now?
Youngest guy, probably 17.
Wow.
I think we have maybe a girl, 16.
Okay.
So yeah, my son's quite a bit older than some of these guys. I took my son to France to test some new snowboards at the beginning of the summer, and it was fun. We were hanging out with the French team, and it was crazy because they were all his age. And
right.
It's like, who would have thought, right? Who would have thought that I'd bring my son on a trip with me and not have to worry because all the people are his age?
What's it like traveling around with a kid that is the same age as like those kids, like that you're like, does he help you bridge that gap a little bit? Because I'm one of the old guys on my team now. And so sometimes these kids are saying stuff. I'm like, what the hell are you saying? Like, I don't even know what you're saying right now.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely that. But the biggest thing that I can do is I look back and I think about when Palmer came back, made a run at it at 40 something, and he was traveling with us. And I remember him saying, I'm done after this at X Games in the parking lot. I was like, what do you mean you're done? He goes, dude, like, you guys are children, man. He's like I'm sure we annoyed him to a limit that no one understands. And I'm starting to see that now too. But I think the coolest part about it is I'm substantially older, right? And we got all these young kids. Well, when I show up, I work so hard in the off season, and a lot of that has to do with them because the last thing I want to do is show up and look old. So I put in my work and I do everything that I can so that when I come there, I have the best opportunity to beat them. And then
Right.
The flip side, these kids, the last thing they want to do is show up to camp and get beat by someone their parents' age, and then they got to tell their parents, "Hey, you're spending all that money on me? I just got beat by someone your age." So,
Nick,
but
that's a great point. That's a great point. How has your preparation in training, maybe even nutrition, changed, over the last 20 years? I mean, you started when Palmer was still running, and that guy's an absolute legend. He's a wild man. He's an animal. We've heard stories on this show about Palmer from other legends. And then bringing it all the way to today, man, your training has had to have changed drastically to keep going. Is that true?
For sure. Like I was like one of the first jocks to come into the sport. I was a all sport athlete in football, track, wrestling, baseball. I did everything. And then I come into this scene of snowboarding, and I kind of rubbed people the wrong way at first because I was this jock and I wasn't what they liked. They wanted the skateboarder, the guys that don't play organized sports. And then I come in and they're like, they don't train. They didn't train. All they did was party, compete, and sometimes party all night, show up half drunk still and still race and still kick some major ass. And it was cool to watch, but I think the only way that a sport's going to continue to grow and get more competitive and faster is it's going to have to start going to more people that are training. And my argument was, you guys, I get it, like, but people are going to start training. That's the only way that this is going to continue to grow. And here we are now, where these kids are training hard. They're putting in the work. The speeds that we're running now, everything. Like, we were great. We were one of the most dominant teams for so long. It was crazy. We were on the podium every single race. I remember going over a year with one of us on the podium every single race we went to, no matter where it was. And now it seems like the rest of the world has caught up, and that's through that training and getting time on snow. Now it's like we're the underdog because it's hard for us to get onto snow. We finally found a place in Waterville Valley, New Hampshire, that allows us to come and do some early season training before we go over. Actually, I'm flying there tomorrow to do a training camp for a week and a half. It's the first time we've had something like that, was these last 2 years. And it's definitely a game changer because I've been watching the Italians, the French, the Spanish team, all these guys on snow on Instagram. I see it every day. I'm like, dude, you guys, like, come on, man, save some of it for us.
Yeah, right. We see the same thing, and we're one of those dominant teams, on the Paris side of things. And my whole team is actually headed there as well. I think today to go link up with you. I unfortunately won't be there. I've got a bit of an injury, and I
Oh,
know I've got to. Yeah, it is what
yeah,
it is,
it is what
But
it is.
you know how it goes. But same deal. We sit there and watch people year round on snow, and we spend maybe 2 to 4 weeks on snow in the off season right before World Cup season starts. What do you think? So, kind of taking it back to Sleep's question about nutrition and stuff like that. Do you think all of this actually makes it safer? Because, like, my argument is, if the speeds that everyone's running, you're running in packs, you're gonna have crashes sooner or later. Like, one, you've got to be properly fueled, right? You got to be properly rested, and then you've got to be built to take a hit. Because if you take a hit and you shatter, that's the end of your season. That might be the end of your career. Like, what's your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're not 100% ready for battle and war, you're gonna get yourself hurt. You know how it is. You pay to play. It's not if, or it's when. Something's gonna happen in your career. And shoot, I've been on the national team now for 20 years, and I got a broken collarbone, 15 screws in a plate, 12 days before that X Games I won, and then a compression fracture to T9, 11, and 12, and that is it. I haven't missed anything. I think I missed one race. I tried to race it after I broke my back, and I had to take a break off for 4 weeks leading into the 2018 Olympics. But I'm built for crashing. I mean, look at the neck on me. It's what you do. I mean, and if you don't set yourself up for that, and you're not building that to give yourself the best chance to make it through a whole season, then unfortunately something's going to happen, and your career is probably going to end up short. You're not going to make
Yeah.
it for 20 years. I promise you that.
Well, and on top of that, if you do make it through the season with crashes, because you're going to, right? It's not a matter of if,
Yeah.
it's a matter of when. And it's unfortunate enough to where you do get injured, you're either out for the season or you're competing broken. And
Yeah.
at what level are you competing at that point? 70% bet at best, if you're lucky.
Depends what generation you are.
That's
Because
a fact.
I'll tell you what, you put me in the gate hurt. More good things have happened when I was in the gate hurt than has when I was healthy. I get in there, and I'll tell you what, adrenaline is the greatest medicine on the planet. Like, I think sometimes these younger kids are like, I'm hurt, I can't. And I'm like,
I don't want to hear that word.
Maybe I'm just that older generation talking smack on the younger generation, but we're built different. We are 100% built different. I've been out there in so much pain, but when I get into that gate, like after I broke my collarbone and raced the X Games, I mean, it was 12 days after surgery. I showed up with my doctor to make sure that they would let me race. And then everyone asked me after I won, they're like, dude, how much pain were you in? And I was like, well, I'd love to tell you guys that I'm just that awesome and that badass that I could handle the pain. But as soon as I got in that gate and you put a competitor next to me, I didn't feel any pain. Granted, after I won, like an hour later, I felt like I got ran over by a truck and I passed out a few hours later on the couch with my son. I was just spent. But the fact, there was no way, nothing was going to stop me from going into that gate. And I know some people think that that's like stupid. You're putting yourself in a dangerous situation. That's why we do this sport. We do it because it's dangerous, not because it's safe, and not because it's the more dangerous it is, the more fun it is, and the more you're riding on that edge, man, the more alive you feel.
Oh, dude, I totally agree. So, like, I consider myself more of a heat racer than a time trial. Like, for whatever reason, I'm not the strongest time trial guy for whatever reason. I could have the best lines in the world, and I might just kind of be like, you know. But as soon as I
Yeah,
get in the gates next to people, there's a whole another gear, fifth or sixth gear that kicks in, and it's like go time. And I might not have the fastest pole at my age anymore, but
yeah.
better believe, like, I'm gonna be right there shooting for that whole shot. And if not, I'm chasing you down. You better not screw up because I'm gonna be right there.
Yeah, and I think that the beautiful thing about people like us is when that door opens, we're not thinking about it. We just go. And if
Yeah.
you think for a second, it's already passed. Too late, you're done. So it's just it takes that, and that's like the one thing you can't coach. Either you have
Right.
it or you don't. You can
Right.
try to teach it, maybe, but it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that something that you've tried to instill in your boy?
He calculates risk a lot better than his dad does. So I mean, definitely, like obviously everyone knows kids don't listen to their parents. They never do. They never have. They're never going to. But they're always watching us. So he's seen me in those highs and those lows. He's seen me when I've been injured, and he's seen what happened when I just fought through it. And a lot of good things happened. So I didn't have to really teach it to him. I was teaching him by having him watch me do what I did my entire life. Teaching him without telling them, because when you tell a kid do this or don't do this, they're not going to listen to you. But when they see what you do, they will mimic what you're doing, and it will get in there. And it's very important to live as your life as an example for those kids.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My son, he's so wild. He's like a wildling, man. You've met him.
Oh yeah.
He's just loose operator, operating loosely constantly. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna get hurt. You need to chill. And then 2 minutes later, he's done a front flip off the couch straight to his head or something, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
There's no slowing him down. So I've gotten to the point now where I'm just like, all right, let's see what happens. Let's see, go for it. I just encourage for the most part and try to give guidance when it comes to him doing activities, but to tell him not to is pointless. Like it really
Yeah.
is.
Well, that's how kids learn too, right? Kids
They got
learn
him.
through making mistakes. You can't guide your child completely through life and cut away any adversity they're going to face or any challenge they face, or they're not going to grow. They're not going to learn. I struggle with that sometimes, right? You want your kid to be successful. I want my daughter to make the team. I want my daughter to get good grades, but she's got to learn that, hey, if you don't put in the work, you're going to get bad grades. That's just the way it's going to go. So, oh, you studied enough? Okay. We'll see how that test goes. And you come
Yeah.
back with a bad test, and what happens? You learn.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think to me, that's the most important reason why parents should put their kids in sports. Sports teach you how to lose, they teach you how to win, but they teach you how to fight through that adversity. And that is the best way to do it, because it's something that they can learn without you having to teach them. Because when you tell them again, they're not going to listen. But when you put them into sports, it's inevitable. They're going to come out of it with these lessons learned. These lessons they're going to use for the rest of their life. Yes, I'm sure I learned stuff at school, but in the classroom, but it was the stuff on the field that really counted.
Nick, I agree with you without a doubt here. And one concern that I have that I see is that some parents let their kids quit too willy-nilly, too easily. They let their kids quit when it gets difficult or when they're kind of bored of it. No, you stick through it. If you sign up for a baseball season, you are going to be there that whole baseball season. If you sign up for a soccer season, you should be doing something all the time. But if you sign up for it, you need to commit and get it done. Even
Absolutely.
these kids have iPads, they have phones, they have TV, they have friends. They're going to want to skip practice every once in a while. No, you got to stand up and say, hey, this is what we committed to. This is what we signed up for. And man, I couldn't agree more with you, Nick.
That was always the rule when we were kids. If you start something, you're going to see it through. If you want to decide to not do it again the next year, that's totally fine. But also understand, if you're not playing a sport in a season, you're getting a job. There was always the rules.
Yeah.
You either do a sport or you get a job. And if you start a sport, you see it through, and then you can make your mind up after the season. But you're not letting your team down. You're not letting your teammates and your coach down. No chance.
So I'm from Pennsylvania, Northwest Pennsylvania. We're not quite Midwest. I consider us East Coast. I consider you guys in Michigan kind of Midwesty. So I was soccer or football in the fall, in the winter basketball, in the spring track and baseball. What was your kind of flow through that high school, middle school, elementary school sports cycle?
Yeah, so we were football in the fall, and then it was wrestling or basketball. I did wrestling, and then from there we went to track, tennis, golf, and I did track. So, and then we did have baseball, but only until we were like 15 years old, and then we aged out of it. So, but I did every sport you could possibly get your hands on.
Where did snowboarding come into that mix?
So, yeah, I was in like 8th grade, and my brother started snowboarding, and him and his friends kind of brought the scene to our local ski hill. And it was like, I mean, we all look up to our older brothers. It was like, man, I want to be like my brothers. 2, I want them to accept me and want to hang out with me. So I'm obviously going to follow them into everything that they do. And then snowboarding, man, when my brother did it, I was like, dude. And then my brothers were stud athletes in every sport that they did. So I'm the youngest boy. I got 3 older brothers, and I want to beat them in something, right? So I didn't do that in football. Football, every one of my brothers got the best defensive player on their team their senior year. They got voted most athletic in their class senior year. And then there's me. I didn't get either of those awards, and I think it put a chip on my shoulder. And guess what? I'm the best snowboarder in the family. And it took doing something like that. And I think it's important to have that. My brother set the bar so high for me that there was only one way to do it. You're never gonna catch them, or you're gonna learn to outwork people. And the work ethic that they set to get to where they did was insane. Like, just crazy to think of it. Some of the stories that I put in my book about what my brother used to do to go to ballet practice so that he'd be a better wrestler and a better football player. Like, and when he couldn't get a ride, he'd ride his bike 45 minutes to get to that. I mean, 45 miles on a bike, it took a lot longer. I mean, it's stuff like that. I think that definitely shaped who I am and what kind of competitor I am.
Yeah, so the work ethic, I think that's one of the biggest things just in life in general. And something I'm always trying to teach my boy is like, you got to see it through. Granted, he is only 5, but you got to see it through no matter what. I mean, he's already been in multiple programs for sports and stuff like that, but also just constant routine, right? Like, I try to incentivize certain things. Like, he has chores around the house. One of his big responsibilities is make sure the dog is fed, right? And so I pay him a quarter every time I have to ask him to feed the dog. He does it, And then, but I've started to kind of up the incentive a little bit because he is, young and forgets and all that. And I'm like, dude, if I don't have to remind you, you get 2 quarters. If I get up there and that bowl is full, dude, you get 2 quarters. And he's like, I'll get 2 quarters. But it's just this idea of like constantly trying to build a routine with him and help him understand. And I try to lead by example, right? I get up in the morning, do my cold plunge, generally try to get a workout in, and if he's home or not, either way, he gets to see that when he is around. And it's just letting him know, no matter what, there's always something that needs to be done, and there's always something that can be done. I had a friend who, when he was a kid, his dad used to make him move a rock every day. And it like sounds stupid, but he'd have to move the rock across the yard. And as he got older, the rock got bigger, and didn't matter, rain, shine, sick or not, he had to go out and move that rock every day. And the only point to him moving that rock was to know that it needs to get done, and there is a routine, and you're going to follow a routine no matter what. Work ethic, it goes so far in everything. And I always wonder, like, how much of the younger generation is having that instilled in them, the instant gratification, all that kind of stuff that we all get, instant dopamine levels spiking, all of that without a whole lot of effort or work going into it. Not to say they don't work and stuff, but what are they being taught at an early age? Like, hey, you actually, no matter what you're doing in life, you've got a job to do, no matter what it is. I don't care what it is. Pro snowboarder, cool. Podcast, whatever, you work at the laundromat, whatever it is, you've got work to do, and you need to show up on time. Don't let people down. Keep your word. If you're going to do it, say it and do it. I'm a big fan of, if I say things verbally just to hold myself accountable, right? Like if I make that known to people, I run my mouth like you a lot. I'm constantly running my mouth, but it's part of my accountability process. Is like, if I say I'm going to do something, you bet your ass I'm going to do it. Like, does not matter. I hate to let people down.
Yeah, definitely. I hear you there. But yeah, I know you said you won't say it, but they don't work like we do. It's different. It's different. Yeah, maybe I walked uphill both ways in the snow, or maybe I didn't, but I definitely put in more work. And like, talent will take you a long ways, but if you don't have that work ethic, it's not going to happen. And if people gave you stuff your whole life without you having to earn it, it's not going to get instilled in you. There's no way that's going to happen. And I'm sorry, but I mean, even myself, I'm a softer parent than my parents were. It's just how it is. I was raised a lot tougher than I think I raised my son. It worked out great. My son's crushing it, but yeah, he had it easy compared to the way that I grew up.
Yeah, and that's the way of the world, right? Because when we were kids is different than when they're kids now, and everything they have, the technology is just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I think things like this are important to get out there and talk about it and to learn from one another and grow, man. It's so important because nobody's perfect, man. There's not a perfect parent out there, man. I am stressing my ass off day in and day out if I am doing this parenting thing right. I know I talk to Keith all the time. I'm like, Keith, man, what am I doing? And he's like, dude, just stay strong, keep pushing, and you'll get through it. But Keith, you mentioned structure. Structure, I believe, is important in a sense. Creativity is also important as a parent. How can you give people the kids the ability to create while keeping them organized and structured? Nick, how were you able to do that with your son, giving him like that creativity while a structured upbringing?
Well, I mean, I'll give my kid some kudos. He's definitely wired a little bit better than his dad. And I'll give credit to his mom for that, because it didn't come from me. I'm ADHD all over the place, just loose on everywhere, right? And still to this day, I still struggle with it every single day, and he crushes it. He's at Michigan State University, a junior on the dean's list, just killing it. That was not his father.
Go.
But guess what? It doesn't matter. Like you said, who knows if you're doing it right? Even if you're doing it wrong, you're still all right, kid. I'm teaching you what not to do. Like, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to be there. And I argue with friends of mine that are in split relationships, and I'm like, listen, you guys, they need both parents. Even if one of them, I mean, if they're both alive and they're both there, they should get their time with both of them, even if one of them is subpar. It's part of the growing up, and I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. So my wife was out of town over the weekend and all of that. And last night I was getting my boy ready for bed, and he goes, "Daddy, I love mommy." I said, "All right, cool. Why?" I always ask him why. I'm always challenging him. And he said, he goes, "You know why?" I go, "Tell me. I've got some ideas." And he goes, "Because she gives me everything." And I go, "Well, that's why you got me, bud." And I just left it at that. I was like, that's cool. She can give you everything. She doesn't. She keeps him pretty structured and all of that. And I think that is the balance. Is mom is a little bit softer in certain aspects, and I'm a little bit tougher in a lot of aspects, for the simple fact, one, I was raised with a very firm hand and almost militant style. But I do believe that boys like mine, especially, that are like us, Nick, and sleep, ADHD a bit and just hyper all the time and moving and going. I think we need that. I think we need someone to keep us somewhat grounded at times and keep us on the straight and narrow a bit. The balance of it all, there's things he loves to do and there's things he doesn't love to do. But
Yeah.
I try to encourage everything. My dad made me, he said, you're going to play sports and you're, whether you like it or not, that's up to you. You're going to finish it just like your parents, Nick. But he was like, figure out what sports you like, and we'll support it. But also, if you want to play sports, you got to have an art. And so I grew up playing music because that was just something that I understood and I enjoyed. And I was in symphonies and all of this kind of stuff. And you'd never know it looking at me or talking to me now. I was even a drummer in a bagpipe corps. But it was, if you quit the art, then you have to quit the sport. And that was always the deal. He's like, we'll support it, but at the end of the day, I don't care what the art is. You could make clay pots. I don't care, but you're going to have an art because it is important.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I love that, Keith. Hey, but I wanted to get over, Nick, because you had a book. Your book just came out, man. I go to the Nick screen right here. I like to call this the Nick screen. We got from iron to gold. Nick, that is one of the best titles I've ever heard of in a book. Did you come up with it on your own? I know you're from where are you from in Michigan? Give it to us.
I'm from Iron River in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and the Upper Peninsula was huge in the mining. It was all built on iron ore mining. So I would like to say that I came up with it all on my own, but no, it's not how things work. You surround yourself with good people and smart people, and that's how good things happen. And we had a little a meeting together with a bunch of people, and we were shooting things around. To be honest, I don't know how it came up, but when it hit the table, it was like, dude, absolutely 100%. Because I mean, it is exactly. I mean, it talks about where I grew up, and the only reason I am who I am and I've achieved what I've achieved is because of where I grew up. So it was very important to me to talk about where I came from and the lessons that I learned growing up there to get to where I have. So Gold from Iron was like, dude, and it's like, if you understand and you know where I'm from, you get it 100%. If you don't, you read the book, you find out real quick why it was Gold from Iron. And it was just, yeah, when that hit, it was like,
Oh,
yep,
yeah.
that's it.
Yep. It slaps, as
Yeah.
the kids say.
Isn't it awesome
Yeah.
how like things just work like that? You're brainstorming, you get something together, and it's, again, it's the best book title. I can see myself walking by an airport bookstore and seeing that book there and wanting to grab it. Gold from
Yeah.
Iron Man. I love it. I love it.
See, it was, yeah, and it's what a wild thing, and it just goes to show you when you surround yourself with good people
Yeah.
that make you better. That's how it comes up. Because I would have never written a book without my ghostwriter, Jeff Seidel. It was funny when they came to me with a deal. They're like, well, we want to write a book. And they're like, do you know a ghostwriter? I said, you guys, I'm a snowboarder. No, I don't. I said, I know some snowboarders and some skiers, but I don't think that's going to help us. And I said, but I know a guy who wrote an article about me and my son after the 2018 Olympics. And I said, it's the best article anyone's ever written about me. I cry every single time that I read it. And I said, maybe he would do it. And when we reached out to him, Jeff Seidel from the Detroit Free Press, like just the enthusiasm and the passion of him, he's like, hell yeah, I want in on this project. This is like, it was crazy too, because after my race in 2018 in Pyeongchang, I took 4th place, right? No man's land for an athlete. 4th best doctor, 4th best lawyer in the world's pretty good. 4th place at the Olympics, not good at all. It's like the worst thing. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd change your life. 4th place, see you next time, right? And it's like, at that point, I was 36 years old. So I get to the bottom and I'm limping, I'm hurt. I walk over and I grab my son and I rip my jersey off and I put it on top of him so that I can sneak him into the media area. And then I go and I do all my media with him right there alongside me, using him as like a crutch. And then I get all the way through the TV interviews and I get to the print. And then there's this guy there and he's like just asking questions and firing questions. And there's all kinds of people around him, but he's just firing questions and they're great questions. And I'm like, at one point I was like, dude, maybe let someone else. But he was so like passionate. I'm like, no, I just kept answering him. And then when that article came out, I was like, dude, that is why I kept asking those questions or kept answering those questions. He was so passionate. And the same thing with the book. Like all I did was tell stories. So I'm not an author. I'm a storyteller. I always joke, when you read this, you will hear my voice throughout the entire book. Until you hear a big word, those were his. Once it sounds more educated, that's definitely him. And the structure of it was all him. It was amazing. With anyone else, this book does not come out like it did. And it's just, it goes to show you when you find the right people, man, keep them in your life. And like it was the greatest thing. I would tell him a story and he's like on the edge of his seat, like, what? No way. And he's just pulling this out of me. And I'm talking for hours. I went to his house. Me and my son went down to Detroit and went to Thanksgiving dinner at his house. He came to my son's commencement speech, which I got to do right after winning the gold medal. I mean, these are moments in my life that are huge. And he was right there and just, man, so passionate. It was cool experience, but I'm glad it was him, because had it been someone else, I don't think it would have been even close to what we came up with.
Well, I love that concept of build yourself up with the people around you that mean the most, that support you. I kind of believe in keeping your circle a little bit smaller, and
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with having friends, there's nothing wrong with having acquaintances, all of that, but those people that truly want the best for you are gonna, one, pull the gold out of you a little bit, and they're also gonna push you to be the best version of yourself, whatever that may be. Um, they're gonna push you to be that, essentially, and
Yeah.
I think that's important, is surround yourself with good people that want the best for you, not the folks that say they
Yeah.
want the best, but then, you know,
Well, and usually that's going around someone that's also got their shit together, right? Because you
yeah,
have to not only be around them, but you have to respect them enough to take criticism from them and not get butthurt about it. Some people are gonna, if you tell me, oh, yeah, you're not doing this right. Like, I want someone that I trust and someone that I respect. And I'm like, all right, dude, absolutely. You're another set of eyes on. Let's do this. Let's change something. And if you don't have that respect, it just doesn't work.
yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
So in that conversation with him in Pyeongchang 2018, how at any point did you think, hey, this is it for me, I'm done? Or in that moment were you like, see you in 2022, baby?
That's funny too, because all my Instagram posts leading into that Olympics was like hashtag last dance, hashtag like whatever. It was all about this is it. Like we're going and this is it. And then getting fourth place and just missing the dream by that much was like
Literally.
no chance. So they asked me, they're like, dude, are you going to be immediately? Absolutely not. Like I'm going to do this until I'm 100 is what my words were. I'll do this until I'm 100 until I get one of those medals. And it's like the one thing that's missing. Obviously, it's not. I don't think it's going to define my career. I've had a blast. I'm very fortunate. I put in a lot of work and saw a lot of the benefits from that hard work. But it would be cool to have one of those on the mantle. And now that we have it, it's and then you fast forward to 2022, which definitely was going to be the last one for sure. Hashtag last dance. And then we go out there and I make a mistake in the individual race, end up 10th, devastated. And I do like the most heart wrenching interview I've ever done in my life, bawling my eyes out. Like I can barely get the words out. And then they go to the next level and then they show me a picture of my son on screen and I'm bawling some more and just losing it. But then I was like, absolutely. And then it hardened in that 2-minute conversation. At about a minute and a half, I hardened and was like, absolutely not. I ain't ending on this. It needs to be better than this. I mean, I hold myself to too high of a standard to stop with this disappointment. We need to do better. And then I cried for, I cried for 20 minutes before I did my first interview. And then I went through all the media again, and then I went off by myself, and I sat by myself and just kind of reflected and cried some more and tried to figure out, like, what can I learn from this? And then my teammate came up to me and was like, dude, you get to race again, bro. Like, and I'm like, what? And it's funny. And then when I was like, we got to make sure. And we talked to my coach. They're like, yeah, dude, you're racing in 2 days with Lindsay, or not with Lindsay. They didn't know who was going to partner with who at that point. But they're like, yeah, how did you not know? And I was like, yeah, shocker. I wasn't really paying attention. I was there. My job was to go there and kick ass. And then if I did that, I was going to be the top athlete from the U.S. and I was going to get that spot. Even if we had one spot, it was going to be mine. But it was going to be because I earned it in the individual race. So I didn't really care about the criteria. And I mean, I paid attention, but I was focused on what I needed to do. To be honest, being that it was Beijing and it was COVID, the world took away all the distractions for me. I was only allowed to do things to get ready. And I don't know, most people don't know this, but when you go to the Olympics, it is a circus. It is the craziest thing you've ever seen. And yes, you should experience it. To be honest, I feel bad for a lot of the athletes that didn't get to experience that. And lots of athletes only get one go at it. I've been fortunate to have 4 goes at it, and hopefully one more for sure. Or 2 more, 3 more, who knows? I'll be 52. I'll be 52 for Salt Lake, so look out.
Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. And then just going at it and wanting that, and then going through that roller coaster of emotions from day one, where I fell short of the goal once again for the 4th time, and then getting my second opportunity 48 hours later, and then racing the best race of my life because one, it was just like I had lost and failed at this dream for 17 years. And all those things. It's funny because I beat out Sean Palmer for the 2010 Olympics, which is crazy to even think about.
Right.
This is the reason I started racing, and the fact that I barely edged him out, and lots of people, it was controversial because they're like, you should still take Sean Palmer over this kid. Well, guess what? This kid needed to go there, and he needed to lose. And he needed to get knocked out the first round. And then he needed to go to the Olympics again in Sochi, Russia in 2014. And he needed to do the exact same thing and get knocked out the first round again because he needed some growing up to do. And then we got 4th place. And then we went on and we did 10th, and then we got a gold medal. I needed that, and it's important for the growth. Yes, Sean Palmer could have definitely went to that Olympics and won. I mean, he's a freak of nature. He is one of the best athletes I've ever seen. He won the X Games in how many different events, right?
Summer and winter.
And he started this dream for so many people, but I'm so thankful that I got that opportunity to go there and learn from my mistakes, because now here we are with the gold medal, hopefully going to another Olympics. And guess what? There's no pressure. There's no pressure. The medal's here, and guess what? That makes me very dangerous, even at 44 years old.
Let's go.
Because I'm just having fun. You guys are fighting for your life, and some of these kids are going to have more pressure than they've ever felt. Their world's going to feel like it's crushing them, because an Olympic season, let me tell you, is not a fun season. It is brutal, and just the tension on the team. We're all a team, and we're all rooting for each other. But an Olympic year is different. People are, I mean, we want everyone to do good, but we want to do better because we only get 4 spots. And we have like 8 guys that are some of the best in the world. Like it's a weird dynamic. And the fact that I'm coming in, just having fun, makes me dangerous. And
always.
What's the worst that happens? I don't make it to the Olympics. I already went 4 times, and we got this. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But what if I go there? Right. What if I go there and I delay one kid's dream for 4 years? It's not so bad. They need some more learning to do, just like I did. And if I get to go again, I'm going to make some noise because I'm going to work harder than everyone else.
I love that. And like, I think it's important for a lot of people to, I've said this before, but for people to understand that I've made a career out of failing. Like that is kind of what it is in a nutshell, is you have to fail, right? It's part of the process. It's part of the dream. You're going to fail. It's like crashing. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You might start on the top or you might start at the bottom, but either way, you're going to fail your way till you get to where you're supposed to be. Whether that's a gold
Absolutely.
medal or 10th place, you're going to keep failing, and that's one of the biggest differences between, I think, our generations and the younger generations, is they're not necessarily set up for failure in a sense. They're not ready for it a lot of the times. And when it happens, they're like, what happened? I did everything right. And it's like, that's the beauty of our sport, right? Like I always say, if you walk away from a course uninjured, you had a good day. If you got on the
Yeah.
podium, you had a great day. And if you won it, you had a perfect day. And the only way you're going to have that perfect day is from failing over and over and over and learning each time. And it's not really actually a failure. It's just a learning experience. And
Absolutely.
it's part of the process. It's that. So, I mean, you look at like, say, basketball and stuff like that. The Olympic basketball team, like if they would have lost, it would have been the upset of all time, because they are all superstars. And not to say,
Yeah.
you're not a superstar or whatever in your sport, but it's not as prevalent, right? It's in an individual sport, especially something like snowboarding, especially something like border cross. It's a process of failures over and over and over and over, just for that shot at that one day, for that perfect run, that perfect race.
Absolutely. And it's like you said it with snowboard cross. You could have all the talent in the world and you will not see that podium because you haven't put enough miles in. And it goes about that failure. And one of my favorite quotes that I don't remember hearing it when I was a kid, but I say it at every single time I speak in front of kids. Losers quit when they fail, winners fail until they succeed. Right? All a winner is a loser that didn't quit. He just kept
Yeah.
going and he got better along the way. And that's all I did. I failed for 17 years and then bam, I got to come back. It's funny how being like a rebel, a shithead at the ski hill when I was a teenager went full circle and turned into what it is now. And then I got to do a 70-mile parade back to my hometown from the airport with people standing in the streets like negative degrees, like people are freezing and they're out there shooting off fireworks and screaming as I'm driving through all these towns with my son. And just, I'm like, what happened? Like, who would have thought that that kid doing that would turn out and this would happen? And now I get to speak at schools and I get to speak at corporate events and I get to help people and teach them lessons with all that failure that I went through and all the adversity that I had to fight through to get what I wanted.
Yeah, I love that.
Such a crazy experience, crazy story. You said, I had to fail here. I had to fail here. I had to fail here so I could succeed here. Man, you got a book out of it, dude. It is, it's absolutely amazing. It's such a crazy story. And I'm glad to know that it's not over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is not over. 2 years until the next Olympics.
Whoa. Hey,
1 year.
rewind. 2 years, I might be too old.
1
But
year.
15
That's
months
right.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is, like we're close. You guys, February, first week of February, we're a year out.
That's
Like
great.
that
That's
is
right.
happening. It's hard to believe that happened that long ago and that we're that close to another Olympics. And I always joke, I'm like, well, I'm glad because we are getting older. There's a reality to that, but I don't know. And people always ask me, how long are you going to do this? Till I can't. I don't know. If I'm having fun and I'm competitive, which go hand in hand. I mean, no one wants to just keep traveling all over the world and losing. As long as I'm having fun and I'm competitive, and hopefully the team's paying for me to go, so I'm not just like ruining everything that I've built over all the years. I'm going to continue to do it, and I not only for myself. And I know this sounds weird, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, really? Do you want the kids to do well?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I want them to do well, but I'm going to make it hard on them because it's going
Yep.
to make them
Should.
better." Then when I am sitting on the couch and I'm watching them and I can't do it, I'm going to take some pride in that because I'm going to know that some of that growth is because I was there and because I showed them and I led by example and I did these things. And like when they were like losing their mind, like I did, I'm going to be that guy that goes up to them and says, "Hey man, listen, you got to go through this. This is part of the process. you need someone like that, and I'm gonna have something to do with that. But someone's gonna have to tell that story about how I beat him out for that next Olympics.
That's right. That's always part of. It's crazy because who is it? Comedian. He's talking about being a part of other people's dreams while you're living yours. Dave Chappelle. He in one of his last specials, and that like Palmer was part of your process, right? Like that was part. And though he was trying to live his dream one more time, part of your dream was inching him out, right? And
Yeah.
at some point, those kids that are coming up, they at some point, most likely they will inch you out at some point. Hopefully not for a long time, right? But that's part of their process. You are part of their goals, you're part of their dream. And there's some pride in that, like
Yeah.
I know there's plenty of people on around the world that want to beat me. I know there's plenty of people on my team that want to beat me. But like you said, like there's no point in making it easy on them.
No.
Show up and
No,
put up the
absolutely.
numbers. Let's see how hard you've been working. My numbers will show you how hard I've been working. I don't know what to
It's
tell you.
It's funny you chose the word inch him out, because when I made that Olympic team in 2010, came down to the last race, and I pulled out of the gate in Quebec, Canada, and a Canadian kid made a mistake and took me out right at the start. That was it. All my results were done. I couldn't do anything to better my results, right? So it came down to two guys that could beat me. Ross Powers, my
Legend.
favorite half pipe rider of all time. I did my first border cross race on his pro model, on his half pipe pro model, and he could beat me, and Sean Palmer could beat me for this Olympic spot. Ross Powers needs to get, I think, 7th or better. He takes 8th place.
Oh,
Sean Palmer's got to take first or second. He makes it to the final, and he comes down and he takes 3rd place.
Oh no.
oh my God.
Talk about it.
Wild.
Meanwhile, I'm at the bottom, losing my mind like a child, throwing a hissy fit. I'm off to the side, punching a chain link fence. At least by the time I started punching stuff, I walked far enough away because I was a spastic dummy. And I'm losing my mind, just making myself look like an idiot. And actually, it almost cost me my spot on the Olympic team. So talk about a growth moment. I learned to grow a little bit there, and I haven't thrown a hissy fit at the bottom of a course since then. Have I? And I did quite a bit before that. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not afraid to tell someone at the bottom that they're an idiot or they did something stupid. Or I remember this Russian kid, a good friend of mine now, cut me off going out of the start, and he just took over my line, crossed 2 lanes, took my nose out. And here I am laying on the ground, and they take off and they go down the course, right? I got a whole course to think about what I'm going to do when I get to the bottom, right? And I'm just like running through my brain, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it's like a warm day, like slush, like the perfect spray someone in the face snow. And I come mobbing in, and he's celebrating, and he's like high-fiving someone else, and he sees me coming, and he's like, his eyes open up, and I just lay a toe side turn and just spray him right in the face. And then the camera gets him flipping me off like this, and I'm like loving it. And then fast forward like I don't know, maybe 3 races later, the final race of the season, and I'm in the gate being a jokester, having fun, because that's how I do better. I got to be smiling in the gate, or I'm going to make mistakes. So I'm up there joking and cracking jokes, and I say something, and a bunch of people are laughing. And I look behind me, and there he is, Nikolai, and he's sitting there like this. And I was like, dude, hey, like, don't worry about it. That was great TV. Like, it was great. Everyone loved it. And then he's like, okay,
It's a
we're
show.
friends again. Yeah. So we've been great friends ever since.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. I love it. I
So
love
mad
it.
at me.
Nick, we got this thing we started a few shows ago. We call it the rapid round. It's some of the typical stuff, less action sports, more Nick. Keith, what do you think? Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
All
We're
right,
gonna fire 9. We're gonna fire 9 questions at you. We kept it at 9, not 10. Lucky 9. And just give us, first thing that comes to mind for you.
1 word, 2 word, a sentence, like
Whatever you want.
All right,
Up to you.
just try not to. I mean, if we're doing 9 questions, probably try not to go on too big of a rant.
You're good. Yeah, you're good. Favorite food and why?
Ribeye steak, protein, taste. Ribeye's got the fat on it. That everyone who knows meat knows that that's where the flavor's at. So ribeye every day.
100%.
If it's on the
Tell my wife and
menu,
Tell my wife.
yeah,
and
if it's
kids
on
that.
the menu, I don't stray from it. And to be honest, Keith, they used to have one at the El Jabol. It was the best ribeye steak. It was like $19, and it came with a ribeye steak and some a couple other things. I think some potatoes and some why am I spacing? What are the little cabbages? Brussels sprouts.
The little cabbages.
All right.
All right. On to the next one. All right. So, hey, you've done a lot of traveling. Just talked about it. Hey, which country has the worst drivers, and what do they drive?
I'd say New Zealand because they're all driving on the wrong side of the road like a bunch of dummies. You can tell the Americans because they're on the wrong side of the road, but worst drivers. Can I say New Mexico?
For sure.
It's almost a country of its own.
Yeah.
You've ever been there.
Yeah, I would maybe say that, but a lot of the places I'm always just a passenger. So it's now I start to drive now the last few years, but it was always I was a passenger, so I didn't really get to see too much of that.
Sure.
But
Fair enough.
man, in the United States, we do not get out of this fast lane for nobody. I
No.
don't get it. It's like
No.
like I just get over right away. Every once in a while, like I feel terrible when someone comes up on me and passes me on the right. I'm like, dang it.
Idiot.
I don't want to do that. Like, why would I do that? And I'm like waving to him. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
So fun fact about you, most people don't know this, but you actually have a thicker skull than the average human, right? Like that's a
Yeah, I
fun
do.
fact about you.
A lot
What's your
there.
worst? So, question 3: worst injury. It doesn't have to be snowboarding related or whatever, but worst injury overall that you've ever had.
I would say that compression fracture to my back, but all my injuries have been pretty, I don't know, pretty accommodating for sport.
Sweet.
Like I would be hurt, but I was always still able to find a way to compete. So maybe the back or the collarbone, those are the only 2 real big ones that come to mind. I've definitely hit my head a couple times. That's how I found out that I have a thick skull. And so obviously you touched on it, so we might as well talk about it. We're in Maine, racing in Sugarloaf, Maine, and I'm trying to pass David Speiser from Germany. We go off a hip, which we've learned in racing, hips don't work. I'm going faster. My board goes under his. I go like this, and I land lawn chair, meaning I land on my back edge on the ice and then slap my head back. I kept asking the same question, so they threw me in an ambulance, brought me to the hospital, gave me a CAT scan. No one knew that I had left. The coaches didn't know. No one knew. They're like, where's the bomb? And then finally we figured I found a way to get a hold of someone, and they sent the doctor over, and he's like, can I see his CAT scan? And he literally starts looking at this CAT scan, and he starts laughing. Like, I'm like, what are you laughing about? He goes, dude, look at the size of your skull. And I was like, shocker, I'm sure you're going to be blown away, but I don't know what skulls are supposed to look like. So then he took out his phone and he goes, here's one. So I guess the regular skull is about 3/8 of an inch thick, and I'm 7/8 of an inch thick. There was a dude on TV. It would probably be online now, pounding in 16 penny nails with his forehead. He had 5/8 of an inch thick skull. So Cro-Magnon, baby. Look at that brow line.
Let's go.
It's over double. Oh my gosh.
Oh God, yeah.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely
And people think that makes me like immune to concussions, but guess what? It doesn't matter how thick your skull is, your brain can still bounce off it. The only thing I had to come in terms with was this giant head that I had wasn't all brains. It was milk and calcium.
That's why you got such a thick neck.
I thought it was brains the whole time. And I got a thick neck because of football, and I wanted to be tougher than my brothers, so I did the machine in the weight room.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
but
that
it works great because I haven't broke my neck yet. I sure have landed on my head.
That kind of brings us to our next question that may kind of line up here. What's your favorite pastime or biggest passion?
I would say the things that I like to do the most. Obviously, I'd be crazy if I didn't say hanging out with my kid is amazing. I mean, he still likes to hang out with me, which is rad. Means I did something right along the way. But I like to mountain bike, surf. I like to do all these things that are questionable to most people, right? They get me out of that comfort zone. And people's biggest question for me, being that I'm on an elite performance snowboard team, a high performance team, your coaches allow you to do that. I said, not only do they allow it, they encourage it. They want us to do that because, like I said, if the door opens and I think about it, I'm beat. I'm not making that pass. But by living on that edge, and mountain biking is the closest thing I've got to replicate what we do on the snow. It teaches my eyes to look far ahead so I can race faster. Anytime you're racing something, learn this from Palmer. The farther ahead you can look, the faster you can go. So it teaches my eyes to look far ahead, and then it teaches my peripheral to read the ground below me. And same thing with snowboard cross. And then when I'm riding with my friends, they probably don't love this, but I get right on their back tire and I'm riding their back tire, not to drive them nuts, but to teach my eyes to eliminate them from my view. I'm looking through them. I'm looking through their frame, their whatever it is, to look past them. And mountain biking, I spend a lot of time doing that. And I think that's what keeps me race ready.
Yeah, I agree. I've driven some friends insane riding on their tire like that. But it's the same thing. Like if I can see past you, I can see where we're both going, and anything that happens, I've got you in my peripherals at all times. I know what's going on, and if I know you well enough, I know how you ride. Know where you're going to
Yeah.
ride the brake. I know where you're going to ride the line, and let's go. I've ridden
Yeah.
mountain bikes with you. You're a ripper, dude. It's so fun. You
We like to
charge.
go.
Yeah, we like to go. Hardest thing you've ever done?
Being a parent, by far, my kid always is like, oh, here he goes again. The worst day of my life, finding out that I was going to be a dad, was 2 weeks before I was going to leave my hometown to go try to become a professional snowboarder. And I found out I was going to be a dad. That was the worst day of my life. Fast forward, greatest achievement I've ever done. It's the hands down the coolest thing that I've ever done and my biggest accomplishment ever. And every time I see him succeed, it is the most amazing thing. Man, like even little victories for him, I start crying. And it's crazy to see that come like that. And like you said, you guys being scared, like I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, I had my parents 4 blocks away, and I could be like, dude, take this thing. I don't know what it's doing. It's just crying. And I had that mentorship of my parents helping me, which was huge. But yeah, by far the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding. Not all
Love
the
it.
time. When they're in their adolescent years, it's not rewarding at all. They tell you when they learn how to tell you they hate you, and it's like a
Oh, it
dagger to
cuts
the
like a
chest.
knife.
I'm like, dude, don't say that. But but yeah, but hardest
Love
and
that.
greatest thing I've ever done.
I love that. My daughter's 13 right now. Stuff's a mess.
Ooh, you're into it.
Oh yeah, we're there. My son's 6, so I mean I
Yeah.
have a little balance there on that side, but no, I appreciate that, man. Hey, next one is a fun one. I'm hoping you have some good ones here, but what is your favorite conspiracy?
Favorite conspiracy? You know what? I don't tend to get too wrapped up in all these conspiracies.
Okay.
I like to be that neutral guy. Switzerland, just laughing at all you guys for being ridiculous. But yes, I don't even know. That is a tough question because
Is there one that you have gone down a rabbit hole on or somewhat believe?
Nick, you're
don't
not a
know.
flat earther. You're not a flat earther, that's for sure. I know you've
No,
been on enough
no,
airplanes to not be a flat earther.
no, not a flat earther. Absolutely not. I don't know. That's
What
a
about
tough one, you
Bigfoot? What
guys.
about Bigfoot? Is Bigfoot real?
No, he ain't real. But I love.
Oh,
I mean, I want him to be. I want someone to find him one day. But come on,
I
like
threw it up there because we had a comment on YouTube from Squatchy Comics, Thrash Time. I love it. Thanks to Squatchy Comics there with a comment. But all right, so
yeah.
Bigfoot's not real. Aliens,
I don't
last
think
one.
so.
Aliens,
Aliens?
Oh,
last one.
they have to be.
There
They
we
have to be.
go.
Look at how big. Nothingness is infinite. Like, there's got to be something out there. Like, we're here. Why are we here? Like, there's that comedian. He says, "You think you're in Michigan? Zoom out. You're on a floating rock in the middle of nothingness that just keeps getting bigger." It's like, it's so funny. And then he talks about, yeah, and we're just made of molecules. Okay, sure.
How
we
does that
are.
make sense?
And we're just like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just, it's crazy to think. Like, but yeah.
So we'll
Aliens
go
have
with
to be
aliens.
real.
Yeah, we'll go with aliens.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for humoring us with that one.
Ghosts,
could
I think, are real too.
There you go.
I think
There
some
you go.
spirits stick around and like to cause some mischief.
I-
Shit, I hope I'm one of them. I'd love to mess with some people. You know that snow snake that got you? Nah, it's just Baumagrtner.
Just bomb. He just got you. Got him. Gold. I love it. If you could free ride anywhere in the world with anyone in the world, where and with who?
This is a tough one, but I mean, obviously, the Japan comes to mind with a bunch of my friends, right? But being that I'm so proud of where I came from and knowing that we have a ski hill in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan that I say on a good day is as good as anything I've ridden anywhere in the world, I would like to take Sean Palmer, Seth Westcott, maybe Nate Holland, maybe Ross Powers, all these people that are influential in my sport, and show them that the Midwest, show them that Michigan, there's actually a mountain there. It's not just hills. And I'd take them to this place, Mount Bohemia. And then, and I always had a dream about having a World Cup race at my local ski hill, Ski Brule in Iron River. It's a small resort, but they're so passionate. I think we could make a cool one, and I think it would be awesome. But yeah, either Japan with that crew, but I've already done that, I guess, with that crew. One of my first times leaving, well, actually, my first time leaving the U.S., I got to go to Japan to race in 2007, and it like dumped snow for like 2 days, and we were there early. The training got canceled, everything got canceled, and we just rode powder, and we got it all day to ourselves because in Japanese culture, I can't remember it all. There's these evil spirits in the woods when it snows, and the locals wouldn't go in there. And we're like, dude, we got it. And we'd be riding and ripping, and then we'd duck under a rope, and there'd be a ski patroller there. They'd hit that fence, and they'd stop dead. Nope, we ain't going in there. And we just endless powder for as much time as we wanted.
Sick.
Yeah,
That sounds so good.
I think that whole thing is stopped now. I'm pretty sure that people go in the woods when powder is there.
Yeah.
I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
They're
If not,
probably
they
all
will.
from Europe or the U.S.
For sure. All right, we're at number 9 now, and
All right.
and the last one here, favorite holiday. Favorite holiday.
A lot of people's is Christmas, but I'm one of those kids that was born right next to Christmas. Sagittarius, December 17th, so we kind of blended together. I would lose out on a present, so forget that. Get out of here. Halloween, man, girls like to dress up for that, and I don't mind watching.
No, it's a good one.
Yeah,
I'm in. I'm in. I'm a
I'd like
December
that whole
13th,
fall
so I
time.
get it.
I would say Halloween and Thanksgiving. Halloween for reasons of girls dressing amazingly scandalous and me getting to watch that. And then Thanksgiving just for the exact opposite reason, because of family and important things like that, and just spending time together.
I thought you were gonna say Thanksgiving, knowing you and your brother, and just like the little
Yeah.
rivalries you guys seem to have and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it would be Thanksgiving without a doubt.
Well, it's in
But
there.
it's in there.
Halloween just came up because
You didn't disappoint.
Hey.
I love it.
So,
Well,
hey,
go
as we
ahead.
go to wrap this up, Nick, I wanted to say, before we announce you as a guest on this show, I'm going to try to share my screen here in a little bit. We did a little guessing game on X, and I posted a hint of who the guest was going to be. And I thought it might take a little while. I chat GBT'd it. I said, okay, hey, give me a hint for Nick Baumgartner, coming on the show. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen right now. The guy got it within minutes of me putting it on, and I want to give him a little shout out. So let me see if I can present my screen real quick.
Wait to hear who it is.
So it's yeah, absolutely. Here we go. I'm going to share on X, share screen. All right, where are we here? So a little bird told us there's a big guest announcement coming soon. Who do you think it is? Look at my hint. How is it? It's known for his persistence. He competed in 4 Winter Olympics and finally struck gold in his 40s. First person to guess via DM will win something good. I'm going to scroll down here. Individual's name is JT, John Thompson. I know exactly who he is. I met him at the United Polaris Lounge in December 2022. Both fellas are class acts. So I thought that's just pretty dope that it happened immediately after we posted it. The guy met you and got to wear a gold medal. Isn't that pretty random?
Honest. No, Chat GPT. I mean, come on, that's my life story. You could. I mean, the only thing that would have been different is he always wears U.S. gear and he has a killer mustache.
That would have won it. That would have won it. I was just stoked that the guy got a picture with you, posted on it on Instagram, and it was just perfect. Pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, ChatGPT could have done better. I probably should have given Sleep a little bit of help on that. But he's like, what should I do? And I was like, I don't know. You'll figure it out.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, I think we're at 1 hour and 15 right now, man. We hit on a lot of stuff. I want to let people know, first off, where can they follow you? And then also, where can they get that book of yours? Is it available everywhere? Is it only certain places? What's going on?
Yeah, so I mean, you guys can follow me on social media just at Nick Baumagrtner. You see how to spell my name there. The book you can get Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all these places. We do have the audio version as well. I wanted to read it, but turns out they told me I'm not intelligent enough to do so because you guys probably don't want to listen to a 4th grader read you a book. So, so I left that to a professional, and it came out amazing. And you guys, one thing I want to say about this book is the biggest thing for me, like when they came to me with a book deal, I was terrified about it. But then I thought about it, and I spent so much time building a platform that I can use to inspire and motivate others. And you guys, I come from a very small town in the middle of nowhere. My ski hill is 400 feet tall, and I wanted to go out there and take on the best from the biggest mountains in the world. There's a lot of adversity. There's a lot of things that I think you guys will be able to just learn from. I mean, life is tough, and I think my story is a great story. And if you have kids that want to shoot for the stars and they want to do something amazing, get them this book, because they're going to learn from stuff. They're not going to listen to you, but they might listen to this. And I say kids, but remember, I won this at 40 years old.
Yeah,
maybe there's some lessons for all of you. And that's been the coolest thing, is building this platform to not only do something like this. This is going to be around forever. Like, we've immortalized this with this book, and it's crazy to think of. But the one thing that I think that I would only be bummed out in this process is because my name's not big enough. My sport's not big enough. I'm not going to sell 100,000 copies of this book just because I'm Nick Baumagrtner, right? No, I'm either going to need to get in front of people, boots on the ground, or we're going to need to spread the word, because I think there's a lot of kids and a lot of people from small towns or have been through the ringer and want to see their way through, and they just need to know that that's how it goes for everyone. Failure is part of the process, and if you're not failing, you're not trying.
Absolutely. I need to get a signed copy from you, Nick.
Yeah,
next time you're in town.
I will. I think I might be coming out there here soon, because we're gonna go to New Hampshire, and then we're gonna come back for 2 weeks before we go over, and I might have to just come over and rip some laps.
That'd be fun. I'd love it. Well, Nick, thank you again for your time. Apologies to everybody out there for, all of the scheduling conflicts, getting 3 guys together from 3 different places is not easy. And we're just so thankful that Nick was able to make the time. Baum, you're the man. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing some love, stoke, and stories with us.
And I'll take some blame for that whole reschedule and stuff. I'm like hurting a cat for sure. I like to
So
say
much.
that I'm just so busy, but some of it has to do with my organization. You guys, if you want to be successful, be more organized than I am. I made it work, but it's easier when you're organized.
You
My
can make
brother
it
Josh
easier,
taught me
right?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Love it, Nick.
Awesome, man.
Well, thank you very much. And hey, dude, we got the season starting right around the corner, man. Have a great year, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the Olympics in 2026.
Yeah, if
We'll
you
be
guys
cheering
want
for
to
you,
follow
brother.
and see an old man delay a kid's dream,
Let's go.
at Nick Baumgartner.
I love it.
Let's
You.
go.
All right, Nick.
Awesome,
thanks, sir.
brother.
All right, Keith, man, that was eye-opening, man. I loved it, getting to know Nick, and I can't wait to get his book. I can't wait to read it. I can't wait. I'm an audiobook type of guy as well. You know, I kind of suck at reading sometimes. You know, I like to listen, like to act a little bit, have a little fun. But you know, sounds like it's something for my kid as well. My 13-year-old kind of going through life right now, trying to figure it out. So stoked about that. Keith,
Yeah.
just thanks for all the guests that you bring to the show and everything you do every weekend and week out for Thrash Talk, man.
It's my pleasure. I love it. It's just a passion project for us, and
Yeah,
we do it because we love it, and we get to talk to awesome people like Nick. And dude, I love the guy. He's hilarious. He's such a good guy. He's passionate, and I've had some awesome experiences with him on a personal level, and so stoked that we were able to make it happen. And super thankful for everyone who just kind of joins us, whether it's live or checks out the recording on YouTube and that stuff. Yeah, thank you to you all, and thank you, Sleep, for all your work in the background as well. Couldn't do it without you. So
heck yeah. Well,
and again, big shout out to Nick, and thank you to him.
love it. So we'll probably be back next week. We'll get this thing dialed in, coming at you at a new time. I know normally we're in the morning, we're in the evening now, but let's keep rolling, Grizz. Let's keep doing this.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks all. See you out there.
Thank you.
You.